This is Health Unfiltered, the podcast where we cut through the bullshit and get honest about fitness, nutrition, and mental wellness.
Hey, we've got Jerry Brazie and our guest host, Brandon Morris, here with us today. And we're going to be talking about consistency over perfection, the relationship between adversity and fitness. And we're going to be talking about Jerry's weight loss story. So I'm really excited to get into this. Jerry, do you want to just tell us a little bit more about yourself so we can get to know you a little better?
Sure. My name, like you said, Jerry Brazie. I am 55 years old. I've been an entrepreneur for since I was 28 years old. My background is eight brothers and sisters. I come from abject poverty. Started my first business at 28 years old and have bought and sold dozens of them in the intervening 30 odd years. Um, I have a thing called hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, which is a 40% growth in my left ventricle. You're born with it, it sits dormant in you. Lucky for me, we found it a few months after it showed up when I was 38 years old. And so the results of that are blood thinners, medicine to slow the heart down so it beats a little bit slower, things of that nature. I battled AFib, which is a racing heart rate, a
Mm,
flutter, which is high, low, goes back and forth, back and forth.
yeah.
I've been hospitalized. I was talking to my wife last night. We were trying to figure it out, but since 2015, I've been hospitalized, we believe 50 times. That is either
Wow.
emergency room visits or nights spent in the hospital. I've had heart surgeries. I broke my back when I was a teenager, addicted to opioids. And along the way, like I said, I've had some success in business. I live here in Tennessee. COVID started. I was 300 plus pounds. And that kind of brings me to, the story of my change beginning when I was 52 years old in November of 2021. So that's kind of the background that got me to where I am sitting here with you guys.
Wow.
Wow.
And you had mentioned that at one point you were on, what was it, over 15 medications?
Yeah, I was taking 19 pills a day. And coming
Wow.
into in November of 21, I was down. I found myself, I was flying back and forth across the country, and I found myself down 4 pints of blood. We don't know how.
Oh, that's
And I was
scary.
having and I thought I was just in AFib, which is your heart races. And now I've been in AFib. I've been 240 beats a minute for 4 days before. We just can't get it under control. We just can't stop it. All they
Oh,
do is just
geez.
throw meds at it. And so I thought I was having a bunch of AFib fits and just having to muscle through it, which means 15, 20 steps and you have to sit down. You just can't breathe. And I'm going across airports, right? It just goes on for a month or two. Finally, I get
Mm,
home in November. I sit in my living room. I can't get into my kitchen. I was like, I got to go. Drive to the hospital, walk in the door. 24 minutes later, I was in a hospital room. So they had admitted me that quickly. And I was down 4 pints of blood and I was having 100 mini heart attacks every day, is the way they characterized it.
oh, geez.
And so for me, that was November of 21st. I'm November of 21, I should say. I was 52 years old. I was 303 pounds and I couldn't walk 5 stairs, forget about a flight of stairs. And so I just said, I couldn't walk to the parking lot. I was addicted to
Yeah.
opioids because, like I said, I broke my back when I was a kid. That's a 30-year addiction.
Hmm.
And I was just laying there and I was finally like, that's it, man. I'm either going to die or I'm going to live. I have unborn grandkids. I did never met my grandparents. I never met my aunts and uncles. I didn't want to do that to my kids. I've been married for 27 years. And I was like, I got to make a change. So laying in that hospital bed in November of 21, I was like, this is going to get serious. And January 1st of 2022, it got serious.
Wow. What happened?
So I just, for me, I tried to figure out, number one, I had to get healthy. So when you're, and this is for any of you, the listeners, the medical community is there for a reason. They serve a purpose, but you have to put them into perspective. As somebody, as I've detailed, has been in and out of hospitals most of my life since breaking my back as a kid, I have a very good understanding of what they provide. And so dealing with the heart issues the way that I have, heart surgeries, all of those events, I have a good idea of what they tell you to do. And I did all of the things that they told me to do, and it never
Hmm.
got better. Could I have done the things that they told me to do better? Yes. Could they have been more emphatic? I could give you an example. No one ever said, "Hey, fatso, lose weight." right? Let's not
Right.
talk about medicine. Let's not talk about anything, surgeries. Let's not talk about any other therapies. Fatso, lose weight. Had somebody said that to me, right? Maybe, maybe not, the light would have gone on that it's not the
Mm,
medication that's going to save you, right? That it's not the therapies that are going to save you. It's not the surgeries that are going to save you. What's going to save you is the problem. And the problem was
yeah.
that I was fat. And so that realization for me was that I was not, and they wanted to do another heart surgery. I needed to get another back surgery. I was taking 250 milligrams of a drug called a pain med called oxymorphone, which is a morphine oxycontin mix.
Oh boy.
250 milligrams kill an elephant, right? But I've been on this
Hmm.
stuff forever. So I was just in this malaise, and I decided it was time to live, and I was going to have to go to a baseline to figure out for me what is the right way to live. And I
Yeah.
said, no more doctors. I continue to take my medication. No more pain meds. And January 1st, I said, I'm going to go for a walk. Now, I legit could not walk. I couldn't walk out of an emergency room to my car without stopping twice. The pain was so bad because I have this pinched sciatic. I have so much scar tissue in the base of my spine. They can't get a needle in there anymore to put steroid injections. So
Yeah.
walking to me just seemed impossible, but I said nothing's going to be impossible. And so I went for a walk that first day, January 1st. Like I said, took me 20 plus minutes to go a quarter mile. I had to stop 3 times, and I was miserable
Hmm.
and out of breath. And I started the carnivore diet. And I started the carnivore
Got it.
diet because it was a diet that I thought I could stick to. Period. That's
Mm,
it. I
yeah.
just thought, okay, I'm not going to eat rice cakes. I'm not going to eat, plain potatoes. I knew I wouldn't eat any of that stuff, not in any kind of long term. And I was trying to set myself up for success. So I went for a walk, and I ate 1,750 calories every day of fat and protein. I drank a
Hmm.
gallon of water, which I do religiously. And I
Yeah.
just said, I'm going to get thin. I'm going to get in shape, and then I'll figure out what's wrong with me, not the other way around, right? I think that
Right.
we're sick because we're fat, but we blame being sick on being fat, right?
Yeah.
And it's inverted. You don't know what's wrong with you until you're no longer fat, and all of a sudden, all of the things when you're overweight or obese tend to go away. Diabetes and all these other diseases
Mm,
that are killing people, soreness. I mean, it used to take me 4 or 5 minutes to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, sit
yeah.
up, and I would almost pass out if I sat up too quickly in bed, and I have to push my fat ass up to stand up on the floor, and then everything's creaking and popping. It all went away when I hit 216 pounds in 8.5 months. So I lost, between the muscle I put
Wow.
on and the weight I lost 100 pounds in less than 9 months,
So,
and changed my life.
so the weight loss, was that primarily from changing your diet, or did you incorporate fitness into this? And
So so I walked I didn't want to get hurt. Right. Again, I'm 52 years
yeah.
old. So I had worked out when I was younger and even into my 30s and 40s, about the time that the hypertrophic cardiomyopathy showed up. And so my body had some familiarization with working out, playing basketball, being athletic. I'm 6'4" and 240 pounds. So I'm a big guy
Mm,
naturally. And
hmm.
so I I had some sense of what to do there, but I didn't want to get hurt. So I just went for a walk and ate 1,750 calories. And then at
That's
about month 5, I was down 50 pounds. I was walking 4 miles a day nonstop, which is unheard of for me in the previous 25 odd years. And then beginning in late May, early June, I added in weights. And so I cut my miles back to 2 miles. At that point, I was doing 8 miles, 4 in the morning, 4 at night.
hmm.
And I cut that back to 2 to 4 miles a day, and I started lifting an hour a day. And then in August, I added the sauna, which I had never done before, and I now do
Yeah.
religiously and have. And
Mm,
so, for me, it's a 2 hour every single day, 6 days a week, and then I do 8 miles on Sunday. That's my day off, and I've done that every day since January 1st of 2021. But I started lifting weights, like I said, in June, and now it's a full 2 to 4 miles every day, an hour of weights every day, half an hour in the sauna at 170 degrees or hotter every day. I eat
wow.
right
That's
now.
a
I'm on a
lot.
cut because I was 104 pounds of lean mass when I started at 52, and at 55 now I'm 134 pounds of lean mass. And so I put on,
Nice.
yeah, a massive amount of muscle over the last 4 months or over the last 3 years. And now I put on too much weight. I'm about 243, which is heavier than I want to be. I want to be about 230, I think is perfect.
Yeah.
And so right now I'm in a cut eating 1,850 calories a day. Of that is 250 grams of protein and about 60 grams of fat. So I eat a peach every day. So very low carbohydrates, very low anything like that. And I work out, like I said, 2 hours every day religiously.
That's a lot. That's quite a bit. I'd like to go back and touch on that first chunk of weight that you lost. Did you say you lost 50 pounds by just starting to go walking and doing the carnivore diet?
That's it. No running.
Wow.
All I did is walk and
That's
ate
incredible.
1,750 calories every day. And
At
I know,
52 years old.
yeah, correct. No
So
cheating,
it's
no meals off, no, every single day. I was just having a
hmm
conversation with a guy who's kind of on the same journey, saw my journey, and he's trying to do the same thing. And he's like, "Hey, we're going out for our anniversary this weekend. We're taking a couple extra days off. What do you they're like 3 weeks into the program. What do you think
yeah.
about cheating, because we're going for the anniversary?" And I listed
hmm
off from January until August, all of the holidays and the birthdays and the kids' days and the anniversaries that I went through, and I never touched anything. So I listed for
Wow.
them, no, 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 because I told myself, not until you get to 216 pounds are you touching anything. 216 was just a magic number. Not till
Yeah.
I got to 216 was I even going to think about eating anything. But by
It
then,
takes a lot of determination.
well, when you're dying, again, I did it because I want to see, and this is laying in that bed, I want to see my unborn grandchildren graduate from college. That's the number I
Mm,
set for myself. Now, there's no
yeah.
guarantee, right? A truck could hit me tomorrow, but I can do things for myself that can improve my odds of getting there. And again, a lot of this, particularly at my age, for people my age, we get real selfish, right? And so I was
hmm
really selfish, right? I'm in pain, I'm in misery, I'm going, and as I tell people, you're going to die horribly. They're going to cut your legs off. You're going to take your eye. You're going to lose your eyes. You're going to lay in bed and you're going to be a burden to your family for the rest of, whatever you have left of your life. And you're going to die
Yeah.
miserably and in pain.
It's
That's
scary.
the chances, right? And so I said, I
hmm
didn't want to do that. I don't want to be a burden to my family at the end if I can avoid it. And I want to try to be here as healthy as I can, wrestling with my grandchildren on the ground. Now, the
Yeah.
day one, I went into the gym. I have to say this. Day one, I joined a gym. I didn't lift a weight until late May. But day one,
hmm
January 1st, I go into the gym and I said, I'm going to do a push up. And I went down and I couldn't get up. And not only could I not push
That'll
myself
happen.
back up, I couldn't get up. I couldn't get off the floor. Right. So
Oh,
I had to,
shit.
oh, dude, and the gym's
Wow.
full guys, man. And I remember it. I feed off of this all of the time because
Mm,
I was ashamed, but at the same time, I said, you remember this. This is your fault. None of these people here looking at me, no one's looking at you anyway, but none of these
yeah.
people here, when you're in that situation, you're kind of thinking everyone's looking at you.
Yeah.
No one cares. No one made me eat anything. Nobody put that food in my mouth. Nobody told me not to
Mm,
go exercise. And I, rolled over and sat up. And I mean, literally, it took me a minute to stand up off of the ground. It's just incredible, right? I legit couldn't do it. Conversely, in November of 22, just 10 months later, I did 8,000 push-ups in the month. And then in May of 2023, I did 10,000 just because. So I did 25 push-ups every half an hour, just because I was pissed I couldn't do one on that first day. I'd set my alarm. I was doing them in crosswalks. Didn't matter. When my alarm went off, restaurants, movie theaters, wherever I was, I dropped to the ground
hmm
and did 20, 25 push-ups.
That's impressive.
You
What do
got
you
to
think
set,
about
I
that,
had to have
Brandon?
goals.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. My big question really, whenever it circles anything like that, is how big of a difference in your mental clarity did you start to like how long did it take for you to notice like, hey, my energy levels are starting to balance. Same with mental clarity and all that stuff. Because those are the big things that I try to always talk to people about. Is like, man, once you start eating healthier and everything, it's going to transform your whole life pretty much. So how long did it take for you to start realizing a lot of those positive benefits to your new lifestyle?
You know what, Brandon? That's probably the best part about it. And I've answered this question many times. I can't speak for other diets, but for the carnivore diet, it is a huge pain in the ass for the first 30, 35 days. For me, it was very, very difficult, right? Because your body's screaming at you to eat sugar, to eat carbs. And so it's just a battle. You diarrhea and all sorts of things go wrong. Everything that's sore, you blame it on the diet because your brain's trying to get you to eat those foods and you're trying to break those habits. But about day 40, all of a sudden, day 40, I was sitting there and I wrote a little journal every day for the first 4 months or so, just a quick sentence, just so I didn't forget what I felt like, right? Because I thought if I pull this off, I'm going to feel so good. I don't want to forget how bad I felt. And so I kept this little journal, just, a sentence or two. And day 40, I wrote, man, I can see clearer now. That's what it said. So for me, it was right at day 40. I think I lost 14 pounds in the first month. So let's say I'm still, 290 pounds and 104 pounds of lean mass, right? I'm just a big fat guy still at 290 pounds. But two things happened. All of a sudden, it's like clouds. I'm legit. I went to bed foggy and I woke up and the clouds are gone. But it coincided with, I get up and go to the bathroom at night and not realize I did it. Meaning, no, the joints aren't sore anymore. Wait, I'm still 290 pounds, but I'm not to any extent relative to what I was doing 40 days before. I wasn't fighting my body anymore. It was really interesting at that day 40. Some people get it at day 20. Some people get it at day 30. For me, it was a 40-day, 39 days of misery. It's a good 30 days of misery. And then at that day 40, to your point, and this is spiritually, mentally, physically, and emotionally, all four of those. Those are the four pillars of what I've done with my life. And I was 52. I'm now 55. I'm in the best shape. I'm at thinking more clearly. And the benefit of being my age is I have all of this experience behind me that I can draw on, that I've got a mind, a computer that now can go access that information and bring it forward quick, sharp, aggressive, right? Competitive, all of those things like I used to feel when I was 30 years old, man, it's all come running back. I mean, legit, I feel 35 years old. So the physical works with the mental, which lent itself to the emotional, which ultimately capitalizes then on the spiritual. And it all becomes something, spiritual in the context. I'm not overly, I don't go to church necessarily, but more just kind of even on my walks, you can smell outside smells differently. And the trees make a different rustling and the birds make a different noise. And you appreciate nature and you appreciate the things around you in a way that I never did before because all of your emphasis goes into walking. Right. You have to put all of your energy goes into going up the stairs, or how can you avoid going up the stairs? Those sorts of things. When you take away those shackles, man, I mean, that's the best part about it. The physical part is fantastic. Being strong is fantastic. Being able to wear whatever t-shirt I want is fantastic. But the mental, spiritual, and emotional sides far outweigh the physical side for me.
Yeah,
That's
I mean, definitely. I
incredible.
know, and I know in my own journey, the more I focus on my body, it almost like the spiritual and the emotional kind of follow in step with your body. And a lot of it has to do with our relationship with ourselves as well. And so if we're going out and we're eating all this food and we're telling ourselves, oh, this doesn't really matter. Well, our subconscious doesn't really work like that. And so by us not taking care of it and not showing us that level of respect, we're basically treating ourselves like, if we were to treat somebody else like that, they would be really upset or probably never talk to us again. And yet we're so used to just treating ourselves like it doesn't matter, like our body's just like it's trash. And then we wonder why we have, a poor emotional state or a poor spiritual state. It's like, well, you need to learn to love yourself first, like take care of your body. It's just like having a car. It's like, all right, so do I get oil changes? Do I, choose to put good gas in it every now and then? Like, do I vacuum it? Do I keep it clean? And that's kind of a reflection of like how I see, with the car example, like my body, like
Yeah.
how do I see myself? And that, directly ties into self-efficacy, self-esteem. And those are
Yep.
huge. I mean, that affects your
Yes.
entire life,
I agree. In fact, the car analogy is one I've used many times, and it relates perfectly to what you're talking about. I had no concept of how powerful the brain was in forcing me to eat the foods that I should not have been eating. And here's my example. Day 8, I wrote it in my journal. In day 8, I stood up. It was over. I can't make it. I can't do it. I got to go eat the crappy food that's in my refrigerator. I can't. It's just, I have to. It's just too much. I got a snack. I mean, it was really palpable. And I stood up, and I remember as I stood up out of my chair, I looked down and I couldn't see my feet. I was too fat. I carried all my weight out front and I couldn't see my feet. And I remember saying to myself, wait a minute, how am I hungry? This something doesn't make sense to me. My belly's just growling. I'm hungry as can be, but I have this gas tank that's full, to your point about the car. Who goes to the gas? And the thought in my head was, who goes to the gas station with a full tank and fills your tank up? Nobody does that, right? We fill the tank up when it's
Yeah.
empty. But I have all this energy. I can't even see my feet. And that for me was, oh, okay, I need to look at this differently. And I went and researched this differently. The impact the brain has and the fight that it puts up when you're trying to transition, let's say, from those high sugar carb foods into those processed foods into wholesome, in my case, carnivore, but one ingredient food, it's going to fight back, and it fought back hard. And I subsequently learned it'll even have your belly have hunger pains, right? I'm 300 pounds with a gut out to here and I'm having hunger pains. How's that possible, right? I have a full tank of gas. And so my relationship with my brain on that day, and then the research that I did subsequent really changed the approach to getting healthy and to keeping my health, was understanding that I wasn't fighting my body, I was fighting my brain. And when I figured out I was fighting my brain, the fight was still there for the next 40 days or next 30 days, but it made it, a little bit more palpable. And at least it showed me what I was fighting, as opposed to, you always think you're fighting your body, right? You're not fighting your body. The body's the easy part. The brain's the tough part.
Definitely. Did you come across any tips that really helped you get through that mental part where the struggle of wanting to eat and get off the diet?
You know what? It comes from, again, I come from abject poverty, 8 brothers and sisters. I stole food as a kid to eat. So I'm blind in one eye. I lost vision in my right eye. I got a virus when I was 14. My older sister died when I was 13. I was stabbed when I was 19. I've been shot at. I've been beaten within an inch of my life. I got my first job as an 11-year-old, so I paid taxes as an 11-year-old, believe it or not. Bought the first meal I ever ate in a restaurant, I earned by working for it. And so again, I was 28 years old. I started my first company. I got a mortgage at 20 because I read an article. I didn't know what an interest rate was. I, dropped out of high school at 16 years old, like everybody. I grew up in the hood. And so, but I had a work ethic because I always equated food and work together, going back to when I was 11. So I didn't have to steal food anymore. I just go earn money and then I would have food. So those things were always connected. And so I started my first company at 28, not having any idea what it was. And I was tremendously successful. I was a millionaire at 33. And I've gone on and done all of the things that I've done. That's with no education, no background, no support. I got away from that as I got successful. And this might be as you get healthier, right? You might try to get some of those bad habits come back. Maybe this is why we put so much weight back on people who have success losing weight. And so that was me as I got a little fatter, if you will, as the wallet got a little fatter, as I did better in life. And the decades go on and the kids and the trips and, you're just kind of living life. All of a sudden, you get ahead of yourself 100%, right? Way out over your skis. And so that's kind of where I found myself. So when I needed to adjust, now it took, as I described in the story, it, had to beat me over the head laying in that hospital bed, going to die or just about dying. I had the wherewithal inside of me to say, that's it. I finally had enough that it pushed me back to the person that had done all of those things and escaped where I had come from and it had that success. I was able to tap back into that got me there. So it was just, I did it all by myself, which I don't recommend. If somebody can find somebody to do it with them, it's always easier. But it was just force of will. I wanted to see, again, growing up poor with no grandparents, I didn't want my grandchildren to grow up without grandpa. And I saw how important that was in my kids' lives. And so I was like, nope. This is it. I mean, literally, that was it. I was like, this is it. I'm going to be here when I'm 85 years old, and I've got some strong headwinds. And so, no, I don't really have any advice other than I thought about those unborn grandchildren and do think about them every day. So when I'm sitting there, I work out by myself. I do these, 4 sets of 3-second down, full extension at the bottom, dead stop, push up, very laborious, slow, kind of boring workouts that are brutal. Everything's to burn out, complete failure. and
Those are
rather
the
than
best
lifting
kind.
heavy weights and all of that,
Yeah.
right? I'm trying to do it right so I don't
Yep.
get hurt. But in the middle of it, you want to quit and you're like, God, it's three's good enough today. And I'm like, grandkids. Nope, 4 sets. You know what I mean?
I
You make
love
it
that.
happen. You can do it in. So I guess that's fine. The thing, even
It's
over and
having
above myself,
your reason.
yeah, correct. And that was kind of my
Hmm.
thing. I was like, grandkids, and up that it's just nope. Here's a fourth set.
Yeah. That
I
can
don't
be
want to go
really
walk.
powerful.
Yeah,
Knowing
you
why
just
you're doing this and having a purpose, that's that's really great. I mean, that
I
can
agree.
take people a long way. So on day 8, when you were like, fuck this, I can't do it, and you got up and then you realized, no, you weren't full. It was just took that little thought process and then you sat back down or went and did research.
You know what I did is I moved my chair. So
Yeah.
when you do this, I had to change my habits. So it takes,
Hmm.
first you got to start it, and then you got to change. You got to force those habits to take over, which
Yeah.
can take a few months, 2 to 3
Yeah.
months, let's say. But then you get 2 to 3 months, and now the habit is almost automatic. And somewhere around 5 to 6 months, and this is true in business, this is true in other aspects of life. All of a sudden, those disciplines that you had to push through to get there to develop that habit becomes a lifestyle. And for me, at
Mm.
6 months, it just became a lifestyle. And so, 6 months, give or take, somewhere around the middle of the year, all of a sudden I had this lifestyle where it's just, I mean, my wife could order for me at a restaurant, right? Anyone around me could order for me at a restaurant because they know what I eat. They know how I eat and whether or not I'm even going to eat. What time of the day is it? And so those habits became a lifestyle, and then the lifestyle obviously took off, and then really the rest is history. So that was kind of the start at day 8 where I said I got to change things around. So I moved my house around, so I wasn't doing those things that we do every day the same way. And for instance, I moved my chair, and by moving my chair, all of a sudden I'm not sitting there eating bonbons, right, or whatever, eating
Yeah.
ice cream every day at 8:30 at night because I'm not even sitting in the same chair. It may sound stupid, maybe it is, but it worked for me.
Yeah. Just avoiding those triggers, as
Hmm.
commonly, called.
That's right.
Yeah, that can be really important, keeping that stuff out of the house and just changing up your routine and avoiding
And,
those
and
triggers for sure.
And when I felt like I needed to cheat in those first couple of months in particular, or that first month, I just went for another walk. So even if it was
Hmm.
for 10 minutes, even it didn't matter. It's pouring down rain. I'm going for 10 minutes. I'm going to go walk around
Yeah.
the block in my house. I'm just going to go for a walk. And so I did a lot of 10 and 15-minute walks, as well
Yeah.
as, going out and, trying to do miles, to just break it up. And then, I
Hmm.
didn't sit in front of the TV. I got rid of that habit. So I would go to
Yeah.
work, or I'd be on my computer in my office, or just something different. Go
Hmm.
for a
I love
drive,
that.
anything. Just break it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. Well, we're winding down. We got about 5 minutes left. Brandon, did you have any thoughts to wrap up with, or last question?
No, I mean, I love the story. I think it's great. I'm sitting here thinking about how I think walking is a really unique choice. And I think it really kind of exemplifies how, because a lot of times people will try to jump in a little too much, like, oh, I'm gonna,
Hmm.
New Year's resolution, I'm gonna start lifting and all this. And a lot of times, people kind of we don't realize the impact that something as simple as just going on a 5 or 10 minute walk can have,
Yes.
and especially building up those small momentums, because especially when you're talking habit and you've been eating poorly for so long, like those are really hard to overcome. And so a lot of times by taking a little bit of an easier approach, like, hey, I'm just going to walk around the block, like that's a lot easier to say yes to than, all right, I'm going to go to the gym for 2 hours, when it's like you don't go to the gym. How
That's
are you
right.
going to go from not going to the gym to going to the gym for 2 hours? Like, you're talking about something really extreme here. And so I think the walk aspect is really smart because it's more gradual, but then there's also a ton of benefits to walking. I mean, other than just the physical as well, walking can be really meditative. And so you can use it as a coping mechanism if you're stressed. So instead of stress eating, we now start to rely on going out into nature. And so there's really a
Hmm.
lot of benefits to that. I really like that about your story.
I had no
Yeah.
connection with nature at all before I start going for a walk. And I have a a good following on TikTok, and I do these videos. And sometimes it's my walk, and it's just birds chirping in a meadow here in Tennessee where I live. I never even noticed it before, right? And now you're like, hey, look, there's horses running around over there, and things happening. So to that point, and also I'll add this to anyone thinking about starting. I had a plan. And the plan was lose the weight first. I'm a home builder. So you can't build anything until you have a foundation. So I wasn't going to go in at 300 or 400 pounds. And I see these guys are 350, 375 pounds and they're deadlifting. And I was like, no, man, you don't go off the couch and go in the gym and start deadlifting. That makes no sense at all. You got to get rid of that 375 pounds. You got to get back to a foundation you can start to build up on. And so that's the way that I looked at it. Is I had an anticipation of hitting the weights. It just wasn't going to be until I had lost 50 or 60 pounds, kind of when I thought, okay, I got my feet underneath me. If I fall over, I can stand up. I got a little bit of strength. I'm feeling a little bit better about myself. Time to go lift weights. And so I did that on purpose. And then as I lost weights, I just continued to, or as I lifted weights, I continued to lose weight. But that was my approach, was just get out there and walk. I should say that first day took me 24 minutes to go a quarter mile. In the last 20 months, I've done 5 half marathons. Now, I hate huge. I hate them, but it's the mountain, and it's the mountain in front of me.
It has to be now.
Yeah, correct. I do it because I can, and I hate every minute of it, but I do it because I can. So
that's quite
you
a
have those challenges. Yeah.
I love that. I love that approach. Just starting slow and just working on building a foundation that you can improve on. That's a really great way to go about it.
Because as soon as you get hurt, it's over. Right?
Yeah.
It's just, you won't go
back.
back
so long.
Yeah. Right.
It makes you depressed. It just hurts you in so many different ways. Yeah. So Jerry, you have a podcast, right? Do you want to tell us about your podcast and where we can find it?
Yeah. So the Jerry Brazie podcast is the name of it. And it's largely business based, but these things, as we've talked about with life and health, I think business and success in life and all aspects of life are downstream of health. It doesn't mean that, if you're out of shape, you can't go become wealthy or have a successful relationship with your wife and your family. I'm just saying that life is infinitely harder or easier when you've got your feet underneath you. You can stand up on your own. You don't have to worry about falling over. When you've got your health, everything else is downstream of that. And by health, I don't just mean losing weight. I mean losing weight, have a little bit of muscle, do some resistance training, so again, you can fall down and you can get back up. And so that's kind of what the podcast is about. It's business related, success related, what it takes to get there. And at the same time, it'd be foolish to say that we don't talk about health quite a bit, because as we talked about, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, it all ties in. And just one more thought on the spiritual side. On all of those sides, the food is a huge critical piece to that. It's not necessarily, gaining muscle. It's not necessarily losing the weight. It's what you feed your body. My brain operates way better on protein and fat than it does on sugar and carbohydrates. It just does. This isn't an indictment on carbs. Just for me, that's what worked.
I find that to be true for myself too. So we're about out of time here. Where else can people connect with you, Jerry? Where can they find you?
So TikTok is Jerry Brazie 4. And if they just go to jerrybrazie.com, that's JerryBrazie, jerrybrazie.com, you find all the links and everything about me. We're doing a couple of podcasts a week. I put out 2 videos a day about whatever my musings are, business, food, what I'm having for lunch, what my exercise programs are, thoughts on this, that, or whatever other thing related to kind of what we've talked about.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much for coming and joining us today, Jerry and Brandon, our guest host. I really enjoyed our conversation, and hopefully we can do it again soon.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for sharing your story.
Absolutely.